Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to more Judge Dredd lore, where today we are going to have a look at one of the subsections of the Justice Department, the home of the famous Cassandra Anderson and the rest of the psionically sensitive judges, the Psi Division. It was officially formed in 2057 by Chief Judge Hollins Solomon, although it would be one of his final acts before handing over the reins of power to Clarence Goodman. Hollins Solomon was only the second man to hold the title of Chief Judge after the Justice Department's creation by Eustace Fargo, a chain of events we've already covered in another video. But the history of psionically gifted people far predate the creation of this official organization, with some rumors suggesting that the first psionics were created in the 1900s by the United States government in hyper-secret programs, possibly with the aid of German scientists after the Second World War. This, however, remains pure speculation. What we know for absolute certain, however, is that the Soviets had also discovered the psychic potential of parts of their population. Whether this be through natural or artificial means is again unclear, but they created a fully operational Psi Division long before the one in the United States of America, possibly stretching all the way back to the early initial discovery of psionic powers in the 1900s. And the Soviets found these unnatural gifts so useful in the repression of their population that they even found a way to artificially create psykers later on, which lends some credence to the idea that the entire psyker mutation might originally have been some sort of an experiment, seeing as the Soviets clearly managed to replicate the psychic effect in normal individuals via technology. Now, to return to the soon-to-be not quite so United States of America, the Psi Division was preceded by several unofficial psychic organizations, as the Justice Department in the US had also recognized the obvious potential of being able to read criminals' minds. No longer would there be any refuge from justice within the sanctuary of one's own head. And of course, under the visionary leadership of Eustace Fargo, any unfortunate legal concerns, like the rights of prisoners or some such nonsense like that, were happily ignored, until finally being done away with entirely with the official introduction of the Psi Division. But even before then, this unofficial, presumably volunteer organization proved itself extraordinarily useful, as it managed to uncover a solved plot to have the Justice Division shut down by the then still in existence US government before it managed to reach its full potential. As in the Justice Division, the Sovs saw the most likely long-term competitor to their own potential hegemony. This was probably the final feather in the cap that presaged the official creation of the Psi Division, now that the psionics had thoroughly proven their value to the Justice Department. And indeed, it would go on to be one of the most well-respected divisions within the Justice Department, with the chief of the Psi Division being granted a permanent place on the Council of Five, the ruling body of not just Megacity 1, but of course also in turn the Justice Department itself, giving the Psi judges an enormous amount of influence, and it was seemingly warranted. As, let's just say that the world got a whole lot weirder after the atomic wars. as perfectly exemplified by the fact that a couple of the Psi Divisions' own subdivisions is the Department of Magic, whose role I hardly need expand upon, and the Exorcist judges. Yes, exorcists, as in anti-demons and ghosts and such on. Now, that might sound a bit silly. Surely in the far-flung future, we've moved far beyond believing in such dumb things as ghosts and witches and demons. Well, the ghosts and the witches and the demons have not stopped believing in humanity. And they are very, very, very real. Now, luckily, most of the time, demonic possessions, hauntings, etc. are relatively low-level threats. You know, on a mega-city scale. But there are occasions in which there are city-ending threats that only a Psi Judge and the Psi Division could possibly hope to stand up to. Like, for example, when Satan descends upon Mega City 1 and threatens to annihilate it. As it turns out that literally Satan had just been chilling in orbit for 250,000 years or so, encased within an enormous asteroid. Upon having been released from this asteroid, crashing to Earth not too far away from Mega City 1, the Justice Department elected to fire upon Satan. The 200 feet tall Satan. This, however, did not produce the desired result, merely tipping Satan off as to the existence of Mega City 1, which he then began moving towards. At least they didn't try shooting him again when he arrived, I guess. Instead, the first idea was to send out all the men of faith in the city, as Satan had quite brazenly declared that he was going to destroy the city unless it could present him with a champion capable of defeating him. That champion was not amongst the spiritual luminaries of Mega City 1, as the majority of them immediately admitted to having scammed their followers for years and insisted upon being arrested for this, rather than being marched out to face literally Satan. And fair enough. Mega City 1 was only spared its assured annihilation when Cassandra Anderson managed to trick Satan into a moment of introspection and self-doubt, which brought his psyche collapsing down upon itself as, well, it turns out we humans have killed each other in such fantastical quantities and carried out such unbelievable crimes against each other that even Satan was beginning to have problems coping with it. I mean, what else is there to say? Mega City 1 and the Judge Dredd universe in total is so awful it makes Satan have a panic attack. Yeah, This is why the Psi Division was a highly valued division for so very long. Sure, the Psi's abilities to, help out with regular crimes are very, very helpful. They have the ability to not only read the minds of criminals, which can reveal the names and locations of accomplices, but they also have the ability to have precognitive flashes. Often, these flashes or precognizant seeing into the future are extraordinarily vague, and not always universally trustworthy either, but in many cases the Psi Judges are actually capable of detecting crimes before they happen, and as they are granted a vision of the crime, they can then give the details of the perpetrators, of the locale and the type of criminal activity to the judges, allowing them in many cases to actually well, arrest people before they do anything wrong. And, of course, this is fully admissible in the court of law of Mega City 1. As again, the court of law is the judges. If it's good enough for the judges, it's good enough for the law. Indeed, psychic powers are considered so valuable that the Justice Department even allows non-judges to help out with official judge business so long as they're psionics. So, if you are a psionic in Mega City 1, you are of course required to report any precognitive flash, no matter how vague or difficult to discern it may be, and you may also be called upon to aid in interrogations or other psychic information extraction procedures. In return, the psychic will be tolerated within the walls of Mega City 1, and be allowed to remain a citizen. This little expediency is required because, technically, a psyker is a mutant, and mutants are not very popular in Mega City 1. But of far greater import to the Justice Department than the psyker's simple utility value is the fact that, again, psykers are pretty much the only thing that can stop some of the more unusual threats towards the city, like, for example, when Judge Death appeared. Not quite as, stylish or imposing a threat as literally Satan, but Judge Death and the Dark Judges would probably also have been a end-of-the-road scenario for the judges had they not been stopped repeatedly by the intervention of Judge Anderson and the Psi Department. Hell, without the Psychers, the judges would not even have any clue as to what the Dark Judges were. Now, granted, the Dark Judges escaped multiple times, and at one point they were also freed by the actions of Judge Anderson, but hey, you know, you win some, you lose some. And that, incidentally, was part of the big problem. The Psi Division were given access to a tremendous amount of special resources, of special dispensations, and power within the Justice Department. They were even allowed to develop their own equipment, like the Psi Shield, for example, and carry specialized gear outside of standard regulations, like silver weaponry, or silver bullets, or even bullets with enhanced incendiary effects against unusual critters. This all, of course, came at significant budgetary costs, and, perhaps even more importantly, it created a fair bit of resentment amongst the other divisions of the Department of Justice. Now, as long as the Psi Division was delivering results, there was nothing they could do but shut up and cope and seethe about it. But, well, again, therein lies the problem. No department can have a perfect track record forever, and when the department in question claims to be able to see the future and be the mega city's only true defense against enemies and entities against which even the judges are powerless, well, they better be able to deliver consistently, or at the very least, not make things worse. But unfortunately, that is exactly what the Psi Division started doing. It began to rely almost exclusively on a handful of standout star players, its best psychically active agents, who were responsible for the vast majority of its successes and its actual achievements in the field. Even whilst this was going on, the upper echelons of the Psi Division became entrenched and elitist, not daring or wanting to recognize the efforts of younger Psi judges who hadn't yet earned their stripes by discovering something worth finding out. This was in part also caused by the fact that the Psi Division had called one particular incident exceptionally wrong, and the Psi Division didn't want to risk such an error again. As you see, One of the Psi Division's biggest and most flawed predictions was that a young child with a Justice Department eagle on his forehead would be the savior of Megacity 1, and without him, the city was guaranteed to fall to destruction and chaos. This child's name was Owen Chrysler. To cut a long story short, as most of it has very little to do with the Psi Division, Chrysler was not to be the savior of Megacity 1. Instead, he was to turn into the mutant and be the destruction of Megacity 1. And only after a great deal of timeline bullshit did Judge Dredd eventually manage to preempt, defeat, erase, God only knows, this threat. Although, considering certain other extenuating circumstances here and there, no one really knows if the mutant was actually fully defeated, or if Judgment Day was merely postponed. And then there was that whole business with the robot war, which placed yet another significant dent in the Psi Division's already waning reputation. It didn't exactly help either that time travel technology was starting to come of age in Megacity 1, and pre-crime units, predicting crime not based on wildly unpredictable psychic flashes, but rather manipulations of the time stream, were beginning to make some of the Psi Judge's greatest contributions to Megacity 1 significantly less relevant. And with the Psi Division losing more and more of its star judges as catastrophe after catastrophe hits Megacity 1, the Psi Division is in a very, very clear decline now. Its only remaining saving grace probably being Judge Anderson, whom they have also almost lost half a dozen times, and Schenker, the current head judge of the Psi Division, whom, despite overseeing some of the division's greatest failures, have somehow always managed to cling onto power, even as the authority of his own division is shrinking and shrinking. Most obviously demonstrated by the fact that the Psi Division no longer has a fixed seat on the Council of Five. And so, whilst the Psi Judges still perform valuable services to Megacity 1, their glory days of prominence within the Council, within the city, and within the Justice Department itself is almost certainly at an end. And should its last true luminary, Judge Anderson, be taken from them as well, then the days of the Psi Department is probably all but numbered. And with its decline might come the cities as well, as the Psi Judge's special powers have, on multiple occasions, been the only thing that kept Megacity 1, at least, somewhat intact. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for listening, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.